You know how some people will get out of a relationship and then they will tell you, yeah, it ended. And then you'll say, oh, well, I'm so sorry it ended. And they say, nah, it was over a long time before it was over. And the idea is that it being over, or the 3D ending of it, is not the same of its actual execution. It happened before it actually happened. And when we talk about things occurring in 3D or within our lives, you have to understand that reality is a delayed form of consciousness. Once you understand this, then you can get to the root of why things are happening the way they are happening and why they happen in the first place. And you can start to predict things that are going to happen in the 3D in reality before they actually happen in reality. And when you ask yourself when something happens, you need to really hone in. Has it happened in reality or has it happened in consciousness? Did somebody already declare this and now it's coming down the pipe? Or did it just happen and I didn't even see when this thing got declared or when it was ordered? Prime example, and this is the best one that I've ever heard from anybody ever, is that when you go to a restaurant, the second that you have your food, when it's in reality, when it shows up, it's not right when you walk in the restaurant. It's not right when you order it. You have an idea of what you're going to eat before you even get in there and order what you want on the menu. Now, when you order it, does it come right out right away? Absolutely not. It takes a little bit of time. It's going to take some time for these things to come together. And I understand that this is a big kind of like rigmarole and apparatus and law of attraction, but I want it to help you in regards of understanding not only what is happening in your life, but where the what is coming from. So once you understand the source and origins of actions and results and things just happening, then you can start to determine your life a little better and you can start to get your hands on the wheel a little more and really start taking intentional direction in your life. And the first thing that I was going to bring up about the three things about reality as a delayed form of consciousness is over before it was over, one before it was won. Many times you will see athletic competitions or even the Olympics really, and what we're observing is the tip of the iceberg. Everybody is kind of already understanding what's going to happen is already kind of predetermined because people have put in so much work leading up to this point that it's not just a case of, oh, who's going to out-muscle who or who's going to outwit who. People have honed their mentality, their mindset, their bodies to this particular point in time that it's already sorted out. It's already done. As Wayne Dyer said, you've already been done. It's been done. You're doing, but you've already been done. And so even to try to force things or try to figure it out or get to the bottom of it is to really kind of riot against yourself because it's already going to happen based on the work that's been put into the competition that's going forward or the relationship that's going forward. If something is successful, it was successful before it was perceived as successful. If something concludes, trust me, it concluded long before you saw it conclude. So the idea, even when we talk about our own bodies or sickness or disease or our health or our wealth, it happens before it actually happens. Think about the things that go into it. This is such a basic video on it that I'm not going to get into details about it, but it's about the idea of when did you declare something was going to happen, whether it's good or bad, or whether you consider it good or bad, or poor or rich, or mistake, or fortune, whatever you want to label it as, when did you declare it before it actually happens? And once you start understanding when you declare that thing to happen before it actually appeared, now you can start to take control of your own life and take responsibility and inventory for it as well. It was over before it was over. It was won before it was won. What you conceive now privately will be displayed publicly. That's the second thing. Because, and what you do in the dark will at some point come out into the light. This is essentially kind of saying the same thing, but in a different way. It's when you practice something so much, it just becomes unconscious competence. You're making it a form of your consciousness before it even gets delivered to people in person. It's just happening. It's just appearing. It's just showing up because it's already there. When you practice something over and over and over, repeatedly,
We talk about Kobe Bryant, the Mamba mentality, or even Michael Jordan. There were a lot of dark places these people had to go to before they could step into the arena. The sacrifice and the compromise that one has to make to have athletic success or even economic success, it is huge. Because I remember Chael Sonnen, regardless of what you think of the guy, he would say, I ain't got a whole lot of friends. I don't hang out with a whole lot of people. He gave a lot of his life to fighting, to MMA. And a lot of people that give themselves up to their art, up to their career, whatever it may be, or their families, they give up a lot before you even see it on the surface. So when you see somebody being unconsciously kind and compassionate, it is a practice thing. It is an intentional act that they're making without even really thinking about it. So you have to really tap in with the reality that consciousness is leading everything. It's happening. Before this building got built, they had to build the basement, they had to build the foundation, and upon that, then they build the building. So what is your foundation? Really at the bottom of it, like what is your foundation for your reality? How can you take responsibility for your life? And I know this is tough to do. We're just scratching the surface, dog. We are just scratching the surface. So what you conceive now privately will be displayed publicly at some point. That's just for anything. What do you feel that you want in your life? How do you want it to look? Do you want to write it down? Do you want to create a vision board? Are you afraid of taking steps towards that success? If so, why? To do this work consciously, you have to unravel a lot of things that are holding you back in the first place. We talked about not giving an F and telling people to F off politely, or not so politely. The question is, what would you have to untether yourself from to start dealing with the consciousness of what you want? How would you get in the vibration of things that you want from the place that you're in right now? And when even you start conceiving that, you're already building the reality that's soon to come. Last third thing, what is your consciousness? What are you focusing on? What are the thoughts that you've been allowing to live rent-free in your head? What are the thoughts that have been challenging you, that you're a little bit afraid of, and you're not quite sure if you want to let them live tacitly, freely in your head? Why is that happening? Once you start building awareness about what you're conscious of, then you can start to transmute your actual vibration. You can start to change your life. I'll break this down just in basic terms, how I would speak to myself, because a lot of this terminology and language, I write it down and I put it in the script, and I'm like, oh yes, we're going to say this in the video. And then sometimes it comes off a little bit wordy, even for my liking. So to put this plainly, for me, I have an album coming up. I'm going to release this album. And I had this vision of, say I laugh at it because it's one of the forms of escapism when you're thinking about big things and you get a little nervous about it. I had this vision for me as a kid, like what did I see as something that could transmute my vibration as a kid? And a lot of that was comic books, video games, and cartoons. And the title of the album is Shapeshifter, and I essentially am taking on all these shows and things that happened when I was a kid, and I would, for lack of a better term, use them as a mask to cope with my life. And then what are those masks and personas that followed me into my adulthood that led to me unconsciously coping with my life today? And I went through the list of all the comic books and all the cartoons and things that have been in my life. And I said, all right, we're gonna make music videos. And a month ago, we set a date with a director, and then I set another date for this other idea, and just started putting it together. And there was a point in the middle where I was like, you're not really gonna do this, are you? You're not really going to do this, are you? Now, that's a part of me trying to keep myself in the old vibration. We'll get into that later on. All vibrational states want to keep you there. So there will be this imposter syndrome, this amount of you trying to hold you back. But the point being is that I saw it. I saw all of the videos, and there's like several more we still have to make. But I had to change my radio station to the consciousness of what kind of director, filmmaker, and musician am I to like get these things done? Who would I have to be? And I just locked into that. And I stayed there for 48 hours, 24 hours before we started filming the first one. And then it just kind of led into the next week of doing things. And once I stayed locked in to that consciousness, and that's all I was focusing on, I didn't even really need a storyboard until like the day of, I knew that it would happen. I had no doubt in my mind that it would happen. I woke up this past Friday to my car having rattling, and then it was essentially kaput, starter fell out or something. But I knew that video that day was going to happen. Nothing was going to stop me from getting it done. I was going to get a lift there. I was going to basically support myself as best as I could through that. I was going to be my biggest cheerleader throughout this whole process because I switched into the consciousness of somebody who is going to get these things done and get them done in a very qualitative way, and then also be extremely proud of it at the end of it. I don't just want to get a music video to get it done. And that's a small task. I was like, who do I have to be to get this thing done? And I remember swim races that I would go into where I would absolutely just S the bed because I was focused too much on failing or going slow. Abraham Hicks, she says, I could put 5 sticks in front of you. 4 that you want, 1 that you don't want. And you'll wake up every morning and keep picking the one you don't want because you're focusing on what you don't want. So when I would get up in the blocks for the swim races, I would be focused on what I don't want, and that was swimming the crappy race, and I would end up swimming a crappy race. And I basically got what I focused on. It already happened before it happened. As we come full circle back to the beginning. So really hone in on this concept of reality is a delayed form of consciousness. And then once we started consciousness, what is your consciousness? What are you letting live rent-free in your mind? What thoughts are you allowing into your day-to-day? And then we can start to figure out, okay, what your consciousness is what is leading to reality, what is leading to your results. It's all beginning itself. Because a lot of people let the reality dictate their consciousness, which you're then letting anything outside of you basically be the puppeteer for you. And we'll get into all this later on, but the basic first thing, reality is a delayed form of consciousness, and how can you start to take intentional ownership over your consciousness to start directing the results that you want in your reality. I know that this is going to work out for you. It totally is. It already is. It's already worked out for you. It's already happening. All right. Oh my goodness. So we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.